Hello?
Hi, can I speak with Miss Moore, please?
Speaking.
Hi, Miss Moore. How are you today?
I'm well. I'm well. How are you doing?
Good. I'm calling from the RNC. I had a message here that you wish to speak to a supervisor.
Sure. Thanks for calling me. So I'm a
No
whistle.
worries.
It, it's a pretty complicated story. I did let RCMP Placentia know about it when I arrived in August.
Okay.
It's just like, I'll just say that right out of the gate.
So, did you already explain this to the police in this province?
Uh, I let them know why I was fleeing Ontario, just briefly,
Oh,
because
gotcha.
I was arrested upon landing here, which is not unusual. I get arrested a lot. I'm a whistleblower in a massive crime ring.
So,
So
why did you? What was your need for a supervisor with the RNC?
well, I didn't specifically ask for a supervisor. What I was trying to do was file basically a police complaint. I'm currently lodging with a woman, and I'm now in the process of trying to move because of what I've realized over the past couple of months, and now I'm being she's threatening to call the police on me and have me arrested basically, and
So,
and so she owes me.
when you say you want to file a police complaint, you want to make a complaint against someone else that they've done something. Is that what you mean by that? Sorry, or do you want to make a complaint against a police officer or something?
Oh no, the complaint is
Okay.
the complaint is against the woman that I'm living with. Basically, she's threatening to have me arrested, and this has happened before. Um,
Okay.
because I'm a whistleblower on this crime ring, and I have multi-million-dollar lawsuits against many of them. So I've been, back in 2019, I was falsely accused, arrested, detained. They emptied my house under basically a fake eviction scam while everybody knew I had the money to pay rent and I was, detained. My house was emptied without my knowledge. I tried to, recoup my losses by going to police. The police were basically involved, shut down my file, said bring a civil action. I did that. They lied. That was shut down. I need to appeal it. So here I am now. On the advice of my attorney at the time, I fled Ontario last summer. I arrived here in August, and now I'm in the process of continuing, my legal battle.
Sure.
Pluralize many of them, and I'm not just a whistleblower on certain career criminals, but it's also on a gang stalking operation, which has totally infiltrated Ontario, and it's here as well. And I have evidence of this, and I believe the woman who I'm currently lodging with is involved. And so right now I'm very exposed because she can accuse me of anything, beating her, whatever. She can just say anything, and then I'll be arrested, and then the contents of my home office here will be emptied without my knowledge, which contains all of the evidence I have against over 200 perpetrators. And so when she coyly threatened me last night, I'm pretty aware of what's going on. Now she also owes me over $8,000. So she would, I'm not sure what to label her, but I wouldn't put it past her for her to just, get rid of me. It wouldn't take much to buy her off. She wouldn't have to pay me back the $8,000. I end up in jail, and everything I have here is emptied. Now I have evidence of all of this on my website, and I'm constantly uploading evidence against this syndicate on my site.
So you called us today, did you?
Mm-hmm. This morning.
Okay, so you called us to complain that is it your landlord or roommate?
Well, she owns this house, and so she offered a room for rent in July, and from Ontario I said sure, I'll take it. So she's the owner of this condo, and
right.
I'm renting from her.
So what happened when you called us?
Well, the woman who answered the phone said she has every right to call the police on you, just as you have every right to call the police on her. And I said, well, okay, that's fine. But what I'm saying is, she's threatening to have me arrested. And the woman said, well, that's not a crime. And I said, well, the crime is conspiracy to prosecute. And in my situation where I've been arrested 6 or 7 times in the past 3 years, I have no record. I have committed no crime, but I'm constantly arrested and detained. And the reason is I am attempting to divorce a sociopath in Ottawa connected to this crime ring. And so he has many accomplices. Some police, some crown prosecutors.
Here's what I'll say is obviously anytime anyone calls the police is for a criminal matter or a complaint or whatever, nobody gets arrested without an investigation into the matter or whatever the complaint is. I'm not sure how someone on the outside could dictate who gets arrested or not. At the end of the day, that falls within the police's responsibility and authority, and obviously they must do so with due diligence, objectivity for a criminal offense.
Well,
so it's not as simple as go arrest this person. The system doesn't work like that.
Actually,
so
it does. It does in Ontario, and it does here, because someone tried to have me arrested on January 6th by falsely accusing me, and if I had not.
So everyone is entitled to make a complaint and that type of thing. All because someone makes a complaint doesn't mean that it meets the threshold of reasonable probable grounds to arrest somebody and lay a charge. Were you charged with anything?
Well, so if I can just sort of finish what happened. And again, I'm a very experienced arrested person, okay? I'm a targeted individual and a whistleblower. So 2 officers arrived, I believe it was January 6th, and asked me my name and read me my rights.
Right,
now
that's normal. That doesn't mean you're arrested.
No, but the only reason I wasn't arrested is because I waived my right to remain silent. Because if I had remained silent, I would have been arrested. And so I said, no, come on up, and I proved to them that the woman who works for the Crown prosecutors, the woman lied in order to have me charged and arrested. And so I proved that to the officers, and now the file is closed. However, if I had said, no, I want to speak to a lawyer, then I would have been arrested, I would have been detained, I would have been forced to choose a name off some list from a cell, and I would have no access.
How do you know that?
Because that's
how do you foresee what what the reasonable probable grounds of an officer are and what they determine in their investigation? How do you know that?
Well, because of my experience in Ontario. And so before reading me my rights, I would have thought an officer would have done an investigation. So one of the
part of the investigation is obviously obtaining any and all evidence that anyone can offer. That includes yourself. So if you have evidence to offer, I think the officer has an obligation to try and obtain that evidence. The flip side of that is he also has an obligation to advise you if you have any potential jeopardy, which would explain the rights of caution, essentially. But if you have evidence to the contrary, that forms part of the investigation. If you don't provide that, obviously that's up to you. An officer has to determine if the grounds exist based on the evidence in front of him in totality. Because someone chooses not to give the evidence, he still has to look at what he has in totality. So I'm not sure how you draw that conclusion.
Well, because anything...
You're speaking for him and his objective belief.
No, but the thing is, okay, so they were here to read me my rights.
Right.
And on couple of accusations. One of the accusations was I also was in breach of my Newfoundland release order by not telling the police where I live. That was entirely false. And so I said, no, I've told Robert Hines where I am. I'm BCCing him on a ton of emails. I've told them. And he goes, well, it was still in the, what do you call it, your CPIC? And so, you know, the officer did not call RCMP Placentia Robert Hines to find out if I had told him where I was living. Just because it wasn't updated on CPIC, that was reasonable grounds to say I breached my release order and I would be arrested. And how in the world...
He never arrested you, is that correct?
He didn't arrest me, but only because I waived my right to remain silent. Normally, every lawyer will say, you don't say anything because they can and will use it against you. So I waived that.
I'll say this much now. if you have an issue with how that officer conducted himself or in any way, shape, or form, there's a procedure for that. There's
No, not at all.
that you have
I'm pleased with how it worked
to deal
out.
with that. For me to even judge is, I'm just trying to explain the process to you. If you know the process based on experience, that's entirely up to you. But I'm just trying to explain how things happen. You call today and you wish to speak to a supervisor. I don't know if anything you have to offer is, specifically related to a supervisor.
No, I didn't ask to speak to a supervisor. I'm not trying to file a complaint against a police officer. What I'm trying to do is file a complaint against the woman I'm living with who's threatening to have me arrested.
And threatening in what way? If you do this, I'll have you arrested. How does that meet the threshold for a criminal offense?
Well, I mean, I'm now fearing for my safety, and as I sit here in this house until I find a place to live, if you look at the criminal code around criminal offenses, I don't understand how that meets the threshold. Okay, well, I mean,
no different. It's really no different than if you do something wrong and call the police.
Okay, well,
that's your right to call the police, and that's her right to call the police if she feels you've done something wrong. It's up to the police to do the investigation and determine if it is a criminal offense and if it's appropriate to even lay any charges.
Okay,
really.
So here's what's going down. The Criminal Code of Canada has a crime in it called conspiracy to prosecute, which is section 465 1B.
Okay.
This woman, via text, so I have the evidence, basically last night said, I've already been in touch with the police and I'm to contact them if I ever feel uncomfortable. She has she would have no reason to say this. I take care of her pets. I overpaid her rent. I mean, I sit here and I work all day. There's no reason for her to, I have no history of violence, drugs, weapons, nothing, despite the current allegations, which are ridiculously bogus. So I get accused a lot. I'm used to it. And my concern is that she's basically told me that, she's preparing to call the police. And I'm exposed because she owes me over $8,000. And I have all this evidence here against, over 200 perpetrators. So you may choose to close the file, saying, you know what? There's really not enough evidence at the moment to arrest this woman for threatening Deirdre Moore to call the police and have me arrested once again so that there can be a false eviction and everything I own is stolen once again. I mean, I've been doing this for years. So I would like to somehow be able to file this police complaint. Now, maybe I need to do it online. But
there is a procedure online where you can file a complaint. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be actioned or meets the criteria of a criminal offense. And based on what you're describing, I don't see the criminality. If you have a dispute over your roommate and whatever the case, and what she's saying she's going to call the police if there's trouble, well, every citizen in this country has that right.
No, that's right.
And
but
it
if
certainly doesn't meet the criteria of conspiracy to, implement any judicial process or anything like that towards you.
It will definitely meet it if she follows through and does it. So
It doesn't necessarily mean it's a criminal offense. She can call the police tonight if she's wants that need, and so can you, obviously.
But if she lies to the police, right, and she produces lies in an affidavit, and she lies about a victim income statement. I mean, I've been through this. So Staff Sergeant Power, trust me. My ex arranged to have me arrested and denied bail in Ontario because he told the police I was schizophrenic, dangerous, and he feared for his safety. I was arrested, denied bail, tossed in jail for 3 months. All these charges were dropped. They were all false. It was just simply him trying to gain advantage in our divorce proceedings. It's criminal what's been done to me. So all I'm saying is right now, I'm exposed. This woman is getting a new job. She won't need a boarder anymore. She owes me $8,000. She's been pretty heartless lately, and now she's threatening. She basically said, I've already been in touch with the police, and it was a thinly veiled threat that she can call them anytime and have me hauled off. And so I would just like to...
And she can't call anytime, and if she called me today, I'd say, you know what, if there's issues going on and you need places to assistance. We will assist doesn't mean that somebody is going to get charged or arrested with a criminal offense. It doesn't mean it even meets criteria. You know the mechanisms. Obviously, you've been through this. You know the mechanisms to deal with civil disputes, landlord-tenants, owing of money. You know all those mechanisms.
Yeah, the mechanisms do not work, at least in Ontario, because every level of public service has been infiltrated by gang stalking in Ontario, and I have evidence that they are here in Newfoundland as well. It's all on my site. And you've got women, you've got Tina Moores in the Crown Prosecutor's Office who's involved, and apparently.
Why is that?
Because immediately after she refuses to return phone calls or emails, the Crown refused to give me full disclosure for 4 months. They lied to me in court about how I would get that full disclosure, and then about
That's
10
in relation to something from Placentia, is it?
Yeah. And
okay.
so
Sorry.
immediately after I was in contact with this woman, Tina Moores of the Crown Prosecutor's Office, I believe in St. John's, someone from the Chief Information Office in Paradise was on my website and downloaded like a lot of pages. So there's a connection between Tina Moores of the Crown Prosecutor's Office and someone operating out of the Chief Information Office in Paradise, and I have evidence of this. It's on my website as well. I mean, I'm not sure how much you know about gang stalking, but it's basically covert organized crime where they target individuals are targeted, so it's human targeting, and it facilitates human trafficking. And this syndicate is linked to a human trafficking network that's international, and I have evidence of all of that as well, and it's on my website. If you were to go to PFI, like Peter Frank Igloo, so PFI.ROCKS. You'll see, the very first tab will show you who might be interested in having me arrested, and that's a lawsuit against 2 crooked lawyers in Ottawa. And it's a $3.5 million lawsuit. I just served the amended claim yesterday. All the links are in there, and now I'm uploading evidence. That's the first tab. If you went all the way over to gang stalking, I'm starting to re-upload. My site has been shut down twice, so I'm rebuilding this site for the 3rd time. I was hoping to do it.
What caused it to get shut down?
Oh, I get falsely accused, arrested, and the Crown Prosecutor in Ontario, in Ottawa, says you don't get out of jail unless you remove your site from public view. So this happened when I started implicating all of the judges.
So in order for the court to impose that, there must be something that is, confidential, concerning, out there in the public domain.
No, it's all, they're crooked. I've dirt on 30 judges. At one time I was uploading evidence against my sociopathic ex on LinkedIn. Yeah. Now my LinkedIn account, that was shut down. I was followed by 750 mostly academics, psychologists, counselors. They were thanking me for my work exposing sociopathy and me trying to get a divorce. And then, this is back in 2019, my sociopathic ex calls the Crown Prosecutor, or the cop, and says, this is criminal harassment. She's writing about me on LinkedIn. Within 48 hours, crooked Judge Kevin B. Phillips issues a gag order. So he had no jurisdiction, because he had no right to change my release order.
Just let me understand something, Deirdre.
Sure.
Can I call you Deirdre or Miss Moore, whatever you prefer?
Yeah, Deirdre's fine.
Let me understand something. Everyone you deal with, everywhere you go, every system in place is, in multiple provinces, is linked to a national or international group that is focused around corruption to make your life, I guess, miserable.
Well, no, I mean, I'm just one of many targets.
Okay, so you're one of the targets.
Yeah, like when they emptied when they emptied my house in 2019, it contained half.
You're suggesting judges. You're suggesting Crown attorneys. Mm-hmm. You're suggesting who else? Police.
Well, if you go to sure, if you want. Well, first of all, let me finish the gang stalking, and then I'll show you the swim lanes. So if you go to the tab on my website, under the first tab under gang stalking is cell structure. If you click on cell structure, you're going to see how they're organized internationally. And there's a 48-minute on the left-hand side after the first image. You're going to see a 48-minute voiceover, where basically
that's okay. I'm just trying to understand in totality here now.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to understand how you're linking a judge in Ottawa and a police officer here and a crown to a neighbor that you're living with.
Yeah.
To a crown here, and all part of this conspiracy to target you. I'm trying to find those links.
Okay, sure. So if you go to the...
So, if this is going on in society or in our country, there's a bigger picture in, maybe from a national perspective. So I'm really trying to understand...
Yeah, absolutely.
Really how this is occurring in Canada.
Yeah, for sure. And I can probably give you the name of 20 other people that this has happened to, not just in Canada, but in the US, the UK, and Australia. It's a model that's been rolled out internationally. If you go to the 5th tab, which says Ottawa swim lanes, I mean, I've been trying to it's so complex. I've been trying to find the way to articulate it in a way that's easy to digest, just to get someone to go, wow, really? Is this really happening? Then I can produce all the evidence to prove it. But it's so wicked and so complex. So I broke it down. Now, Kiska.com, that's my ex. And this is, that company that's where basically probably a database exists where there's individuals are targeted, tagged, etc. So then if you keep scrolling down, what I did to try to explain this beast of a system is I reverse engineered it. I'm a chartered financial analyst with a strong business background, and so my ex is an MBA. He built this how to dispose of a spouse system, and I reverse engineered it. So what's the syndicate's goals? Well, that's under A. Basically, steal everything I have. I'm an empath versus a sociopath. Steal everything I have, torture me and my kids, and hopefully drive me to suicide, which didn't work. So what are the objectives? What objectives did they follow to try to achieve those goals? That's in column B. Parental alienation, child alienation, poverty and homelessness. They're all listed there. So then what strategies do they use to reach those objectives? Well, so I'm starting, again, this is my 3rd time building this out. So I'm explaining all the different strategies that are used by this syndicate. Right, but that's not giving me any
tangible evidence for your accusation.
Okay, hang on.
Of a systematic...
Yeah, I'm getting there. So
corrupted...
if you go over to...
multi-jurisdictional, national situation.
Yep, absolutely.
But you're basically saying an officer that came to your house on the 6th of January done so because you were a target and he was influenced.
No, not him. I'm not saying he's involved.
I can't draw that connect. I really can't.
I'm not either. I'm not suggesting he's involved. I think he's a decent cop. The way he agreed to come up and look at my office and look at my evidence. Because he was going to arrest me.
The job he done is typical procedure for any type of investigation.
Not in Ontario.
Process.
Not in Ontario. It's not typical in Ontario. So I don't know what I'm dealing with here, but I'm not complaining about the officer. I think he did a great job. I'm glad he let me speak. I'm glad he looked at my evidence. Then he went away and did more investigation, and the file was closed. I'm not complaining about Newfoundland police at all. What I'm here doing is I'm exposing a massive syndicate in Ottawa with a ton of money. And this woman I'm living with right now...
If that's what you're doing, you asked for a supervisor, you sort of probably called the wrong place.
I didn't ask for a supervisor, I just called in and the woman said, I
was told you wanted to speak to a supervisor.
No, I was trying to file a complaint, and she wouldn't take it, and then she said, I'll get a sergeant to call you back. And that's all, and I thought, okay, great, that's where I can file a complaint. So now
if you're talking about what you call a syndicate ring or corruption ring in Ontario, and you're saying it sort of entails a lot of components of the judicial system. To me, that would be more on the level of a threat to national security in some way, shape, or form, or the province's jurisdiction, really.
Well, That's the thing. So they continue to commit crime against me. So so I'm from Ottawa. Well, the Ottawa police are complicit, and I have evidence of that. I mean, they're currently extorting me right now.
They're extorting you?
Yes, because I have multiple civil actions. Currently, I'm undergoing multiple civil actions because I have so much evidence against, torts being committed against me. And I can implicate some of the police officers. So basically what...
Okay, so you have a civil dispute going on with them?
Mm-hmm. And basically what they've done is they've said, they've basically said, drop the civil action against Ottawa police, and if you don't, we're going to have you declared a vexatious litigant so that you cannot sue anyone ever again. And I have that in writing.
Yeah, so you know what that means? That means, and obviously that stuff would have to be tested, but that means they're questioning the validity of your litigations.
No, it means they're crooked cops. I mean,
well, whatever.
They and I have evidence. I mean,
obviously they wouldn't be able to do that without having a test in court, but
no, because
to me, that's the message they're trying to send to you.
That brings you back to the judges, right? There's so many crooked judges. All they have to do is line up a crooked judge. I've got dirt on so many judges, it's not funny. Like 30 of them. They break the law with reckless abandon. Here's the simplest example. I've been trying to divorce this guy since 2013. Now, we are married. We have 2 children who I haven't seen in 4 years. This group circumvented the Divorce Act. The Divorce Act stipulates that financial abuse and psychological abuse must be considered by the judge when determining custody and access of the children. Okay, that's a federal law. What this group did, they ripped the kids out of my living room illegally. They jammed a restraining order against me illegally. They gave him sole custody and access under the Child, Youth, and Family Services Act, which is a provincial piece of legislation. And they had no jurisdiction, as I'm still married to this thing, and the Divorce Act has federal paramountcy. Everything that was done by multiple judges in family court to my demise was illegal. And then the group on the criminal side, so basically what he does, he accuses me of criminal harassment 1 month before the divorce trial, lies, says I'm schizophrenic and dangerous, has me arrested, denied bail. I have no history of drugs, weapons, violence, nothing. Anti-charter detention. There's no reason for me to be denied bail based on false allegations by this thing I've been trying to divorce since 2013. So, I mean, there's so many pieces to this. Now, so who do I report it to? I tried to report it to RCMP multiple times. OPP, you can't. They kept sending me back to Ottawa Police. Well, Ottawa Police, all my police complaints go in the shredder because there's enough of them, not all of them, enough of them are part of the syndicate to bury me.
What about the OPP?
We can't do it with the OPP. In Ontario, basically, they accept anonymous tips, but you can't report on crime against yourself. You can only report on crime against someone else, and you just get shuffled back to OPS. So I went up to the RCMP level, and they say, well, we don't have jurisdiction. You got to go back to OPS. Well, I go to OPS, and they basically won't let me. And I've recorded all of this. I showed up with a binder of evidence and links to uploaded evidence, and I went to report on this crime syndicate. And they said, well, we can't take your binder. Wait for a detective to call you. And I said, well, it's all here. Can I just leave it for someone? And so I fill out the complaint, wait for a detective 2 weeks, call back, and it's like, oh, they closed the file. There wasn't enough evidence. So I've been prevented from reporting
this. And you think
this.
it's all planned and systematic towards you as a specific target?
No, I think this group has infiltrated Ottawa Police, and in particular the gatekeepers. So, it's so easy to buy off,
And now it's trickled into the Crown Attorney's Office.
The Crown Attorney's Office. Well, yeah, and I mean, if you went, it's so obvious, really. Here's the simplest example. Back on my website, if you go to Criminal Justice Newfoundland style, which is the 4th tab, you can see, scroll down, and you can see on the left-hand side, if you click on that release order, That was my release order after they forced me to hide my website. They were up to 14 charges. 14 charges, including break and enter on my own house where I stole nothing and I had no criminal intent. And then if you go and you click on the one beside it, so finally my attorney says, you know what, just agree to whatever and get out of Ontario, and then we're going to try to have your probation transferred over to someone in Newfoundland or wherever. I was going to go to Nova Scotia, but
so you're facing charges here out of Placentia?
Yeah, but just want to finish. So see the last charge on that one, unlawfully entered a dwelling.
Okay.
And another 3 years where I'm not allowed to speak to my kids. That dwelling was my house, and I went there to tell them the truth because my ex had been told him I moved to Texas because I didn't want to be their mother. So that'll get tested in court if... No, it's not. It's all illegal. Like if you go down to number, I mean, it's so obvious. If you go down to...
Have you gone to trial on any of this?
No. No one will let me go to trial. I can't get a divorce trial. I can't get a CAS trial. No criminal trial. I have all the evidence.
So you're facing criminal charges but not going to trial? Is that what you're telling me?
Well, now in Ontario, basically all I did was agreed to this probation order, and I just did it so I could leave because they weren't. I was.
So what about your Newfoundland undertaking?
Yeah. So that's a new one. So basically, I got accused of assault with a weapon. Yeah, they're ridiculous.
Well, whether you agree with them or not is irrelevant, though.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that'll get tested through the system, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
You are facing them here. When is your court date?
Well, there isn't one set yet because I'm gonna request a third-party records motion. And if you scroll down the right-hand side, I'm tracking all of this stuff too. I mean, I'm being charged with assault with a weapon. Do you know what the weapons are? If you scroll down to the bottom, that's the weapon. A few advocacy buttons. I was so upset leaving Ontario to get provoked by this person, so I threw a handful of advocacy buttons at somebody. Nobody was hurt. You know, I just had to leave Ontario. I had to leave my kids in Ontario to fight for them from here after being tormented by this syndicate for, years. And so, I have multiple defenses, at my disposal, including de minimis, right? No one was hurt. Even in their own statements, one woman says, would be really nice if we could charge her with something. So they come up with assault. I'm charged with assault? What? I didn't hurt anyone. I've never hurt anyone in my life. I'm so used to this. I've been accused of so much garbage, it's not funny. So I'm going through. I've been to court 3 or 4 times already, and then the next hearing is in February, where I'm going to submit a third-party records application. Because, I can... These people who accused me on the... I'm not sure what their issue is. Or did they know I was a target? And just like the woman I'm living with, is happy to just make up some story to have me arrested. I mean, this group has been trying to have me institutionalized and or criminalized for years, since 2013. And all I've done, instead of being buried, all I've done is store all the evidence. So I have evidence against so many individuals. And that's what I'm doing now. I mean, if you want to, this is, so the crooked judges, if you go back to Crime Fighting Andy Jack style, the first tab, Andy Jack's my pen name. I've been writing articles on this forever. And you click on that link, and you go to the very top, it says Book of Documents number 1, and you click on number 1. I'm just starting to upload this now. But there's 169 documents that divisional court had in Ontario when they broke the law and denied my appeal. That's all the evidence of what Kiska has done to me. That's just the labels, and now I have to upload the links on the right-hand side, which will evidence all of it. And that's 3 appellant judges. I've got dirt on actually, I think 4 appellant judges at this point. So that means once I lose in Superior Court of the province, I go to appeal it, and the next level breaks it as well, because they're complicit. David Lametti is hiring, sociopaths to work in the judicial system. I have so much evidence, it's crazy.
Okay. So your purpose of calling us today, and obviously me speaking to you you. First of all, I'll just finish with this note, Ms. Moore. I certainly don't see how it's criminal in nature. It seems to me that you've taken the proper protocols and procedures to deal with OPS. You've implemented the mechanisms there. From a national perspective, you contacted the RCMP, and we're certainly not going to send a unit or an officer to investigate why a landlord made an idle, non-threatening, non-direct thing about she may call the police because she's entitled to that. Outside of that, if you have any future issues, criminal in nature, obviously there is a mechanism. And again, it's to call the police or file a report online. And they'll be looked at and determined where it will be carried. I can guarantee you, from the perspective of this organization, there's nobody that has us hijacked to hold you as a target for any type of systemic issue that's going on elsewhere of corruption, anything like that. So other than that, I don't know how else to help you. I don't think
That's
I don't
okay.
think I can in that regard. But I
Thank
want to
you.
make sure that you're aware of, the mechanisms and things as as you indicate you're newly moved here and that type of thing. And I wish you all the best of luck, obviously, in your future proceedings.
Okay, well, thank you for taking the time. I'll just, if I get threatened again, I will use the online venue for filing my complaint.
Sure, and if it's exigent, so obviously we respond to calls and complaints by priority, and not everything reaches the high criteria of priority, not everything is criminal either, but obviously if it's exigent circumstances where your life is in danger and stuff like that, that's the mechanism for that, getting a hold of us quick so we can offer some intervention. But, based on what you're telling me now, I don't even foresee what you're describing as criminal in nature. But I just want to make sure you're aware of that moving forward. It's not to say that every circumstances can be a little different, and if you get in that situation where you need help, don't hesitate,
Yes, thank you. It's not covert crime for nothing. I mean, they don't want to get caught, right? Their goal is to not get caught. So they're not going to be stupid enough to send me an email and say, Deirdre, you keep this up, I'm going to slit your throat, right? If they did that, then I could call you guys and go, oh, look, I'm getting threatened, my life is being threatened, and go arrest them, and you will. So they don't do that. They lie about me, so I'm arrested, steal everything I own, so I'm homeless and on the street and without income, and, hopefully they'd get a high if I off myself, which isn't going to happen. But, so these aren't stupid criminals, right? They're not going to put a death threat in simple English.
Yeah, I'm just telling you the parameters which we work within and all that stuff. So,
okay. All right. Well, thank you for your time, Staff Sergeant Power. I really appreciate it. And, was this call recorded?
Not that I know of.
Oh.
I don't know.
Or the previous one? No?
They could be. You know what? You call the police station, they could very well be.
Okay. Well, I recorded it.
I don't know.
I recorded it.
Yeah, that's fine.
I record all my interactions with police when I can. So, all right. Well, thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate you calling me back, and have a great day.
All right. Best of luck.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Best of luck. What? Best of luck. Can't remember what number that is. Best of luck. Best of luck. Common characteristics. They always say best of luck, but maybe here it's just a thing Newfoundlanders do. Good luck, 20. You didn't say it sarcastically, you're the wrong town, so you're off the hook. And that's it, 39.